Hello, hello, hello. It is Cassandra Terry, your manifesting miracle maker, and today is Wake Up Wednesday. Wake Up Wednesday is an important day because on Wednesdays, we talk about being intentional. Intentionality is the topic of the day, and hopefully by now, you've heard me before. We've talked about this, and you know why being intentional is important. But if you don't, that's exactly what our topic is today: intentionality, how to be intentional, why being intentional is important to you achieving your goals and getting to the life that you desire. Good morning, Bridget. Always good to see you. I see we've got a few people who tapped in from TikTok. Welcome. I appreciate you joining in. What does it mean to be intentional is our topic of the day. Bridget, you changed up on me. You're watching from YouTube today. Pastor Dr. Alo, thank you so much for joining. And yes, being intentional is a very, very important topic. If you have any comments that you'd like to add on the subject, please drop them as we go through. I am more than happy to share your comments or to respond to, and I'll respond to what it is that you have to say. So, welcome everybody. Please share the live, invite others in. We are live on Facebook, on TikTok, on LinkedIn, and on YouTube. So we're all over the place. Welcome each one of you. Let's go ahead and get started. All right. So, what does it mean to be intentional? To be intentional, it means to act with purpose, to be conscious of what you're doing, to have an awareness of what you are doing. Those are some big words, important words. One of the things that I was thinking about this morning when I was thinking about it being an act of being purposeful, we live so much of our lives on autopilot, guys. We are reacting to whatever is happening around us, but we don't exercise any type of control over what's going on around us. And we have a lot more power than what we realize that we have. And being intentional and being aware allows you, it really helps you to tap into that power. Yes, Dr. Alo, you have to act with purpose. Why is that important? The non-renewable resource, one of our most precious resources is our time. Once it's spent, it's gone. You can't get it back. I can make more money. I can purchase lots of things that are around me. I can get more of them. I don't care what my race is, what my gender is, how much money I have. I can't create more time. We all have the same 24 hours in the day. So we have to be really effective and purposeful about what we do with that precious resource of time. How do you get more out of your day? First of all, you have to start your day by realizing what it is that you want to accomplish. Yesterday, I was a little all over the place between work and my business, and my husband's home sick. And I was just thinking about the different things that were going on. And it's like I felt like I was just kind of bouncing all over the place. And when you're in that mode, you're busy. We talked about this yesterday as well. There's a huge difference between being busy and being productive. When you're busy, we're all busy. Most of us at any point in time feel busy, feel overwhelmed, can feel rushed. But are you productive? When you're busy, you're doing lots of stuff. I caught myself in that phase yesterday, doing lots of stuff. But was I being productive? Was I taking care of the right things at the right time to accomplish what I needed to accomplish with my day? That's the difference between being busy and productive. Busy means you're doing stuff. Productive means you're doing the right stuff. There's a purpose to why you're doing the things that you're doing. And you have to every once in a while stop and question yourself and ask yourself, why? Why am I doing this? Do you ever do that? It's important because we get busy. We're so accustomed to our schedules and doing the things that we're doing that sometimes we just go. and we just flow through without any real conscious thought and connection to those activities. So every once in a while, you've got to stop and ask yourself, why? Why am I doing this thing? And then your response to that will tell you, are you being busy? Are you doing something out of habit? Are you being reactive? Or is this activity moving you towards what it is that you set out to accomplish? It either is or it isn't. And if it's not, why are you doing it? A lot of times it's because it's what you've always done. It's because somebody asked you to. It just seemed like the right thing to do. We can come up with lots of good reasons. But if we don't really stop and connect and become conscious of the activities that we're partaking in, we'll spend our lives just spinning and being on autopilot and losing that precious gift of time. Hello, I see you there on TikTok. Thank you for joining. Don't waste your time. Make sure that there's a purpose and that you're aware of that purpose so that you can determine that that is time well spent. I see quite a few other folks have joined. Let me say hello. My beautiful mother, Joanne, is on. Aromatic Visions. Good morning, Cliff. Thank you for joining as always. Today we are getting into being intentional and why it's important to be intentional. All right. So next up, what I really wanted to talk about, in addition to what it means, it involves being deliberate and thoughtful of your actions, your choices, and your behaviors. Sometimes we are in such a reactionary mode that we don't realize that we can stop for just a moment, gather ourselves, and determine how we're going to respond. Good morning, Tammy. We are going to determine the choice that's the right best next action for us. We're going to determine, we're not going to just respond. So get off of autopilot. Good morning, Alicia. Let go of the autopilot mentality, because when you're in that space, you really are not exercising any type of control or taking any real responsibility for you and your actions. And that's not where you want to be. Your life is precious. You are valuable, and you get to determine how you move through each and every day. We may not be able to make every choice, right? We've got a time that we have to be at work and a time when the day ends, possibly. We have a time when we've got to get the kids to school and a time when we have to pick them up. But even in those things, there's some intentionality that can go into that should go into that. What mindset am I going in? My kids are grown now, so everybody's well on their way and out of school and all that good stuff. But I remember being intentional about how I created their morning. In my mind, every day I was getting my children up and I was sending them off to somebody who it was their job to teach them whatever the subject was in that particular class. It was not their job to do all the mommy stuff that I needed to do in the morning. And the main mommy stuff for me was to make sure that my kids were in the right mindset, that they felt loved, that they were well fed. Just the basics were covered before I sent them out the door. If something had happened the night before that I didn't like, or if they may not be in the right mindset, they were a little moody in the morning, we weren't going to have those conversations first thing in the morning. I just didn't think it was right for me to be in a disciplinary mode, for me to be in a mode to where I'm getting their angst up, getting them frustrated, and then send them off to school. Because who was going to deal with that frustration? The first teacher of the day. They were not going to receive my kid at their best. They were going to receive my child frustrated, my child sad, my child maybe, who knows? But they weren't going to get the best version of them. So that was something that I was conscious about in the morning time. We were going to have good conversations. We were going to have calm conversations. We were going to talk about what a great day they were going to have. Things like that. You're right. Cliff is saying setting them up for failure. If you get your kids all worked up in the morning and then you send them off to school, you are absolutely setting them up for failure. And guess what? We are no different. You're no different. Set yourself up for success. Your morning routine, how you start your day, be very intentional about that. It is important because you're going to carry that mode, that mood, those feelings with you throughout a good portion of the morning, maybe the whole day. So when you wake up in the morning, if you start by thinking about what you're grateful for, you immediately lift your mood. If you wake up in the morning and you grab something, I usually keep a notebook by my bed, and I usually keep one close to me wherever I am so I can jot down something that's important for me to remember or something that's important for me to do. Yesterday, all I could find close was a little sticky note. My husband was really feeling bad yesterday, and I was working remotely. I had already told my team that I wasn't coming in, but I was like, what's the one thing I need to do job wise? What's the one thing I need to do business wise? And I just wrote down like three or four things. And I was like, if I just get these things done, I've had a successful day. Because primarily I need to make sure that I'm available to him because he's sick. And so bouncing back and forth between all those things, it would be really easy for me to not get anything done. So just a quick note, it took some of the angst out of my head, some of that spinning around thinking about all the different things that could be going on. I honed my energy in, I honed my focus in, and I became intentional about what it was I was going to do with whatever time I had available. And that was the thing, because I was operating not necessarily on my time, but trying to focus on and listening for what was going on with him in the next room. I wanted to be available. So I didn't want to get off into some long project that was going to take me, take all my focus away. So write it down. And now I could come back to it. And if you see my list, there's only one black line. Only one of the four things that I wrote down was done, but it was the number one thing on the list, the most important thing. And you have to give yourself grace. Work wasn't the priority yesterday, but I couldn't forget those things. Those are important things for me to get done. So I've got my list. Guess what I'm going to focus on? The second thing on the list this morning. We're still home. He's still not feeling well. So that's the primary thing. But when I have time, I can just look at the list. I won't spend time spinning my wheels, wondering what to do next, all that good stuff. I've got a nice little concise list to pick from and knock things off and kind of keep things moving in different aspects of my life. I'm intentional. I'm focused. I realize that I've got a finite amount of energy, finite amount of time, and I want to use that to the best of my ability to be most productive. So just think about what it is that you're trying to accomplish. If you can't control your time, you can control how you show up, right? If you're somebody who's consistently late, that's something that can be controlled. You can be more intentional about that. You can decide that whatever time you usually get started, you're going to set your alarm for 15, 30, 20 minutes sooner. And you give yourself a deadline to walk out the door. We have way more control than what we think. But we get on autopilot. We get to a point of doing things the way we always do them, and we give up our control by not being connected to our actions and to ourselves. So if you don't take anything else from today, just remember, I'm not on autopilot. I am in control. I am making choices all day long. But most of the time we don't even realize. I've made a bunch of choices. It's only 7:30 this morning, but I've made a bunch of choices already today. I decided I was going to get up a little bit early because there's a guy on LinkedIn who had a room that I really wanted to hear what he was talking about in his audio room. So I got up a little bit early so I could listen to that. I decided what dress I was going to wear this morning. I walked in and I heard my husband. I went in to check on him to see if he needed anything before I started this live because I knew I'd be here for the next 15, 20 minutes, right? So I'm thinking and I'm making decisions all day long. We all do it, but sometimes we're just not even aware of them. You decide which route you're going to take to work. You decide what time you're going to walk out the door. Those things are not just happening. Those are little micro decisions that you're making all day long. But if you just tap into them and realize that you have choices and realize that you're making choices, consciously or subconsciously. That's all I'm asking you to do, is become more conscious of the choices that you're making. Become aware of them, because every choice has a consequence. There's going to be a reaction, right? And so if you want to be more in control of what those consequences are, put a little bit more thought into the actions before you take them. Take a breath before you respond. You hear about being triggered all the time. Triggered is just one of those words that has has taken legs, and you hear, oh, that triggered me. It's true. We do get triggered. We're more aware of how we work inside and out. There are certain things that you can hear, certain things that people can say, certain environments that you could be in that take you someplace else. They remind you of some other event, and you start to feel the emotions of that. So when you're triggered, that's a time where you could easily be on autopilot. You just react. What I'm asking you to do is, before you react, to take a breath, to collect yourself. Realize that you're here in this moment, not in the memory, the emotional memory that's all this stuff that's getting stirred up, and really realize how you're going to respond. Make a choice. Don't just let it happen. Good morning, Karen. Good morning, Trina. Good morning, Sonia. Sonia said, great point. My husband would always say that very thing about not sending the children off in a negative way. I think sometimes we forget. It could be the kids, it could be us. We're moving so fast, and there's something about a deadline approaching. The deadline could be simply, I've got to get the kids on the bus by this time. It just the fact that the clock is ticking creates stress. And then when that stress is created, and we're trying to cram in everything that we intended to do, everything that we intended to say, and before you know it, we've created a negative experience, and out the door they go, or out the door you go. Have you ever got crossways with your spouse before you left for work? Y'all, you know, what you thought was going to be a simple conversation, or something triggers you, and the two of you have a little altercation, little verbal disagreement, and then you've got to go to work. I don't know about y'all, but that stuff is still spinning in my head. And he may be at work and having his day and has forgotten about it. Little does he know that I'm still fighting with him in my head. Like, we are having an entire conversation, and I'm telling him where the rubber meets the road. I'm letting him know up in here how things go and how they should have gone. A whole argument is happening right between my ears while I'm working. So can you imagine how hard I'm typing and what I look like to people around me when I'm in that mode? I'm all worked up. But you can stop, realize, and let it go. You can decide, I am here. This is the activity that needs my attention. I'm going to focus on this. I'm going to let that thing go. Start to think, when you're mad at your husband, start to think about the last thing that you guys did that you really enjoyed. Think about how much fun you had. Think about your wedding day. Think about your kids being born. Think about when you purchased your house. Think about all the things that you're grateful for in that relationship, and watch the anger melt away. You won't even remember by the time you get home, likely, what you were arguing about. We have way more control than we give ourselves credit for. The issue is that we don't often exercise that control. And that's what I'm challenging all of us to do today. Because don't get me wrong, that's why I use myself as an example, because I don't know anybody as well as I know myself. I know all the dumb stuff I've done over the years. I know the mistakes I've made. I know the pitfalls that I've created that have made life a little bit more difficult than they needed to be in the past. And I have tried to learn from that stuff instead of pretending that it didn't happen, instead of pretending that I'm always spit and polish and have it together and that I have all the answers. The reason that I have a lot of the answers that I have is because I've already done it wrong. I've already messed something up and had to fix it. Right? And I've just decided that if I've messed it up and I figured out how to fix it, why not share it? Because maybe it'll make life a little bit easier for somebody else. Trina's laughing, talking about your whole day is messed up after that. All that just stressed me out thinking about it. Yeah, Trina. So Trina and I are friends. We go to the same church, and she's the primary choreographer for our dance ministry. So she has us doing beautiful dances for the Lord on a regular basis. And so we know each other very well. So I know she has those fights in between her head with her husband, because sometimes that's the only place we can have it. Because if we actually say it out loud, we know we're creating a big old mess that we're going to have to clean up later. But those internal fights that we have, our bodies don't realize that the actual fight's not happening, right? Your body is responding as if you're in that stressful situation. So you're becoming angry, you're becoming stressed out, you're feeling all of those emotions, and it's just you sitting there carrying on internally with yourself. So, but when you realize it, then you've got the ability to stop it. You've got the ability to spend your time, your energy, your thoughts in a better way. That's the beauty about being intentional. That's the beauty about checking in with yourself and being conscious of the state that you're in at any point in time. And what does it require to be intentional? You have to be present. You have to be in the moment. You have to understand the reason behind your actions. And then you want to align those actions to your values, to your goals, and to your desired outcome. What are the results? What is it that you're trying to accomplish? What do you desire, right? If you desire a healthy, happy marriage, like I want me and my husband to be best friends. We have fun together. We enjoy each other's company, right? And so, if that's the mindset, if that's the environment that I want to create, then maybe everything that comes to my mind doesn't need to come out of my mouth, right? I have a, I call it a critical eye. I can walk into a space and the first thing that hits me is, what do I need to do? What do I need to change? What should be different? It's the way I'm wired. That's what I see first. There's beauty all around me, but I if I walk down my hall and the picture is slightly off, that's going to scream out at me. I'm out of balance. I'm off. And so I know that that's the way my mind works. But could you imagine all day long having to live with somebody that's what they saw? Everything needs a little adjusting. This could be better. That could be better. Let's do this. It would be exhausting. If I said everything that came out of my mouth, that came through my head, I'd probably send people running. They wouldn't want to be around me because they were like, she's just so critical. It's true. I do have a critical eye. I can't help it. It's the way I see. I've been working on that. I can focus. There's a gorgeous painting right in front of me. I can focus on the beauty of the painting and not as much on whether or not it's perfectly hung. But that's a choice. That's something I have to choose to focus on, because the imperfection is going to be the first thing that I see if I just leave myself unchecked. But do you realize how much I have to know about myself to know that I have to be connected with me? I have to understand me. I like to say warts and all, you know? It's one thing to know what you're good at, but it's another thing, a deeper knowing of what your opportunities are to improve. I know that's an opportunity to improve. Nobody wants to invite people in if all they're going to do is look around and figure out what's wrong, what's out of balance. The good thing is I have a tendency to do that more for myself because I've got a level of expectation of me that I don't place on everybody else. So, but yeah, I'm always looking. I'm nervous bringing people in because I'm thinking they're thinking like I do, right? And that's the mistake that most of us make. We go through life assuming that how we process, how we see, how we think is how everybody else does. So sometimes we're stressed before a person even walks in the room because we're expecting them to respond the way we would respond. My husband is completely opposite of me. He is much more concerned about connecting with the person that walks in. Our door is open, people can come in, and he's going to sit down and start to talk and have a good time. I, on the other hand, am going to say, okay, before they come, is everything okay? Do we have it? Does it look nice? Are they going to be comfortable? Do I have what they need? So it's not about my environment as much as it is about making sure that they're going to be comfortable. And it is somewhat about my environment because I'm most comfortable myself personally. I'm most comfortable when things are in place, when things look good, when things feel good, when things smell good. And he's like, girl, just that's your best friend. She don't care about that. Just she's gonna be glad to just sit down and have some girl time with you. Different approaches, different mindsets, but I think opposites attract for a reason because I could be so busy that I would never enjoy my friends. He could be so relaxed that he doesn't realize they tripping over stuff. So you put the two together and that's where the magic is, those different perspectives. And so being intentional about even realizing that everybody doesn't think like you. Everybody doesn't process the way that you do. Give yourself some grace, give other people grace, and allow people to be who they are, and make sure that you're protecting your boundaries. And as long as you're doing that and those boundaries are being respected, it's all good, right? So being intentional, in order to do that, you have to have really clear intentions. Do you have a plan for your day? And I'm not one to say that every moment of every day has to be scripted and planned out. That would be a boring way to live, right? But just stop for a moment and think. It's early in a lot of our days. What is it that you want to accomplish? What are the important things for you to get done today? When you go to bed tonight, when you look back, I knew I had to get this thing done because I have a presentation in a few hours. And so if I didn't get it written and all spit and polished yesterday, I was going to have a very stressful morning and I would be cramming to get it done as soon as we end this live. So I had to get that thing done. As long as that was done, the big pressure was off. Everything else was secondary, right? And so think about your day like that. What's the hot items? What are the big ticket things that I need to get done? Put your energy into that. Be intentional about getting that done. And then if you've got time left, if you have energy left, then you can start working your way down your list and grabbing some of the other things. But I encourage you to have a list. Written is best, but even if it's virtual, so we have notepads on our phones now. You can jot things down because it just helps when we get into it and we really start to get busy. We forget and you spend so much time trying to remember what it is that you wanted to get done. So my encouragement for you is to have a list, a short one, of the things that you want to get done just today, because otherwise you just get so busy. I see someone on TikTok saying, I have to have a list. I wish y'all's names showed up as brightly on my phone as your comments do. So I can't see exactly who that is that's commenting. But yes, I agree. I have to. I am a list person. And when you're a list person, there is something about drawing that line or putting a check by it, however you manage that list. There is so much satisfaction that I get out of marking things off of my list. So I also know that about myself. Being able to look back at the list and see all the things that I've knocked out, that encourages me. That builds my confidence. That says to me, Shay says lists are a must. That says to me that my time has been well spent. I've gotten some things done that were important to me. I've been productive, not just busy. Encourage you to do that. I'm glad to see I've got a lot of list makers with me this morning. So set those clear intentions. Make conscious decisions. You're making the decisions whether you're aware of them or not. So I'm just asking you to raise your awareness and realize what you're doing with your time. And then you want to take those deliberate actions to achieve specific results. What are specific results? What's another word for that? Goals. Your goals. What are your goals? Keep them in your mind, because that's how you can check yourself. When you ask yourself, why am I doing this particular thing right now? Is it moving you towards your goals or not? If it's not, stop, change direction, pick up something that is going to help you accomplish what you have set out for yourself. That's the best way to spend your time. So it requires self-awareness. It requires reflection. You actually have to think, and you have to be mindful and consider the consequences. What is the consequence that I'm trying to, what do I want to happen? What do I intend to create? That's a consequence. Am I doing the right actions to make that come about? and you've got to take ownership of your choices and be accountable for the outcomes. Focused, mature, intelligent adults take responsibility for their actions and the outcomes. The choices that I have made for the last 50 years are what have landed me into the life that I have right now. Good, bad, or indifferent. I realize that. I can't blame anybody but me after a certain point. There came a point in time where I was responsible. So even if the years prior to that age of responsibility weren't what I would have liked them to be, if they aren't what you would like them to have been, there comes a point to where you realize you can't rewrite history. You can't. You can't go back in time and change the things that hurt you, change the trauma in your life. So what do you do with it? You become intentional. You become aware of how it's affecting you right now, right? And then you make decisions on how you're going to harness the power of that for you and for your greater good and for the good of those around you. If you were harmed earlier in life, you have a story. You are now on the other side of that. So someone who's experiencing it now, they need to know you. They need to read about you. They need to hear about you because you're the example of what life can look like after the storm that they're currently experiencing. I hope people realize that. That's one of the reasons why we're so valuable. You are somebody's wildest dream. You are somebody's survival story. You are somebody's I can get through it because they did. But in order for that to happen, you've got to realize where you are, who you are, and the value that you bring. I know as a Black female in corporate America, I'm a senior manager at an IT company, and I've been with that company for 23 years. So other little Black girls, other girls of any color can look at me and go, oh, I can do this. I can work with computers. I can work in technology. I can be a manager. I can thrive in this environment. So a lot of times we keep our stories close to us. We keep and for different reasons. One of the reasons is we don't want to brag. I was on a live on LinkedIn recently where they were saying, throw that word away. Now, if I'm in a conversation with you and you can't get a word in edgewise because all I'm talking about is my greatness, then yeah, I've gone too far. But sharing your story and being able to articulate what you've accomplished and being proud of what you accomplished, there's nothing wrong with that. I can go, guys, there was a point in my life as a little girl where me and my grandma and my sister were on government assistance. That's true. So if you're on government assistance today, that doesn't have to be your tomorrow. That doesn't have to be your next year. I reached a 6-figure income years ago in corporate America. And you want to talk about gratitude, the last promotion I got, it was so funny because I told my husband that it happened and we high-fived and did a little cheer. It was all good. But then I had a moment where God allowed me to see myself as a young person. I saw where I lived. I saw what was around me. I saw what that experience was like. And then he fast forwarded me right to that day, that moment, that promotion. And he was like, look how far I've brought you in such a short time. Your children have never known what it was like to be without anything. All of their needs have always been met and most of their wants. And now you've got grandkids, and those grandkids live better than your kids did because your kids came along in your building years. Your grandkids have it even better. So I look at I call it my branch. And I tell them we have a responsibility. Our branch is moving our family tree forward. It's not just my kids. my siblings, my parents, my nieces and nephews, we all have seen a bigger life because of what God has shown me. Because what I see, I want them to see. What I see, I want people who came from small town Texas and didn't see opportunity, didn't know what life was like outside of that little city. I want them to see. I don't want to brag. I don't want you to see me. I want you to see what God has done through me, what he's done for me, because he'll do the same thing for you. So, being conscious, being able to articulate and talk about your life, it's important because somebody needs to hear it. Somebody's waiting for your story to give them the courage, to give them the strength to take the steps that they need to take to move their life forward. So don't hide your light under a bushel. Some of you guys will know that reference. Let your light so shine, because your light, what you've accomplished, what has been accomplished through you, what your blessings are, all of that is going to help somebody else. You may never know who that somebody is, especially in social media. A lot of the people who are talking to me right now, dropping hearts, making comments, I may never get the opportunity to meet. Even in a one-on-one conversation, it may only be a comment in a group that they happen to stop by. I may never meet them. But my prayer is that something that I've said will resonate with them and help their life journey. That's my why. I'm real clear about why I get up a little bit extra in the morning, a little bit early, and come and do this. Because I know that my life isn't an accident. And I know that everything that's happened, good, bad, and indifferent, all of it was for a reason. And all of it is culminating to be good in my life. Even the bad things. I learned resilience. I learned how to take care of myself. I have empathy, big time, for people who are struggling. How could I not? I know what it's like to struggle, right? I know what it's like to lose. I know what it's like to have to say goodbye to people who are important to you. I've had those types of losses early in life. So, but on the other side of it all, I'm here, I'm happy, I'm successful, I'm smiling from the inside out. Even when the smile isn't on the face, I'm smiling from the inside out. And that's what I want for everybody. And whichever situation you're going through, I'm sitting here going, there's the other side. Just keep going through it. That's the key. When the storm is happening, you have to keep moving through the storm. The last place you want to be is in the storm, right? So you keep moving through. As long as you're moving forward, as long as you're making progress, you are winning. You are winning. Every little step is moving you towards your goals if you're intentional about those steps and about what it is that you're trying to get to. You have to define that for yourself. So I've gone on and on and on. And I apologize for going long today, but something just hit me as I was thinking. And I appreciate you guys. I've got a lot of comments. And I appreciate you all being so engaging this morning. I hope you shared the live. If you are catching this after the live, hashtag replay, leave your comments, and I will definitely respond later. I will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow is Thursday already, right? That's Thankful Thursday. That's my favorite day. We get to talk about gratitude. Gratitude is powerful. So we spend a day every week talking about it. Thanks for sharing, Mother. For the rest of you guys, please share. Invite people in. Some of you guys are here every day. Tell somebody. There's a reason why you're showing up. You're getting something, I hope. And so I hope that you will bring someone else with you and we continue to grow this community. You are a member of the M3 community. M3 is Manifesting Miracle Makers. We manifest. We have the ability to manifest, and miracles are happening every day. We just have to be aware and tuned in and allow ourselves to experience all this goodness that's going around us. We are so focused and so attuned to what doesn't go right that sometimes we forget to connect and celebrate what does. And that's what I'm here to remind you of on today. Be intentional about your focus. Be intentional about what you're letting in. Be intentional about what you're doing with your time, how you're spending your energy, what you're focused on, and watch your life open up. Thank you, Shay. Shay said, don't apologize for letting the spirit move through you. We needed that. And Victor said awesome and gave me a thumbs up. My mom's talking about the goodness of God. I don't often talk about my testimony that much because I want to make sure that everybody feels comfortable. But at the same time, I cannot deny the God that I serve and what it is that he has done for me and my family through me. So it's going to come up because it's just a part of who I am. And I encourage you all to show up as your authentic self. Be you, and watch who you draw to you, who will need to hear your story, who will support you through your story. So you are perfect just the way you are. We are all imperfectly perfect, and I hope that you know that and that you see the value in you and the life that you've been gifted. Go off and have a great day. Be kind when you can't be anything else. Give somebody the smile that they just may be needing. Sometimes you're the only good thing that's going to happen in somebody's day. Sometimes you're the only good thing that's going to happen in your day. Be intentional about that. Choose the light, choose the goodness, and watch how your life unfolds. So that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for hanging with me. Have a beautiful day, and I will be back tomorrow, 7:15 Central, for Thankful Thursday. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful day. See you tomorrow.